Hi everyone, and welcome to our channel. My name is Doris, and this is Black Clouds Travels. Here you see us leaving the Bonanza R.V. park, and we are just dumping our tanks. And then we're going to move on to filling up with our propane. And last, we're going to get some gas, a little breakfast, and then we're going to hit the highway, where 40 minutes later, we are coming up to the Dempster Highway. If you'll notice to the left, there is a gas station, and this is the last gas station for a long time. So I highly recommend that those of you who are going to be driving the Dempster, make sure that your gas tank is full. And there we have it. In the distance is the Dempster Highway. Now, we felt obliged to stop and take the obligatory selfies, but we did not. If you look to the right behind the motorcycle drivers, you'll see the sign. It was raining and the weather was not with us, but we decided to make the best of it. Here you'll see all kinds of construction equipment as they try to rebuild the bridge. This was not expected, but you just go ahead. Okay, here we go on to the bridge. So if you take a look at the road we're driving on right now, it's a paved road, and this paved road will end in about 50 seconds, and then we will be driving on gravel road. Now the Dempster Highway is 730 kilometers, or 456 miles, and the Dempster Highway ends in Inuvik. However, there is a road that goes from Inuvik to Tuktoyaktuk, and that road is 140 kilometers or 90 miles. So if you round out the numbers, it's roughly 1,600 kilometers or 1,000 mile return trip from the start of the Dempster Highway in Dawson City up to Tuktoyaktuk on the Arctic Ocean, and then back again to Dawson City. So if you take a look up ahead now, here comes the dirt road, and bye-bye paved road. Now, traveling 1,600 kilometers on a gravel road is a very intimidating thought, especially when you think about what it does to your vehicle and what it does to your spine as well. This is part of the adventure. You know, it's seeing what you can handle, and of course on the pro side you've got the beauty. You are really going into rugged terrain and very, very desolate country. Now of course you see us buzzing around here at light speed. You can't see how slow we did go from time to time, how we eked out over every rock and gully. Your insides are screaming at you, why are we doing this? Let's just turn around and forget the whole thing. But fortunately for us, we did okay. Now I'm going to take a few moments to talk about the trees. I was really amazed at the trees as we drove by them. Here they're kind of tall and spindly, and then they get a little more dispersed, and then after a while, hey, where are the trees? We are currently below the tree line, which means that the trees have the capability to grow, even though they're in the Arctic pretty well. But once we hit that tree line, there will be no more trees because the tree's roots cannot get past the permafrost. Now there were times when we did have to go a lot slower than 40 kilometers an hour. Sometimes we were as slow as 2-3 kilometers an hour. But usually we were between 30 and 40 kilometers an hour. We always felt a sense of relief whenever we saw a bridge. They were made of metal and were not prone to frost heaves or washboarding. Now something else I found rather interesting was that I saw no wildlife, and I don't know if this is a good or a bad thing. On the one hand, yes, we did not have the joy of actually seeing them, but on the other hand, I was hoping that they're way back, safely entrenched, far away from the tourists. Now, about 40 kilometers into the Dempster Highway, we'll come across the Tombstone Territorial Park. I'm going to read a little bit from the Yukon travel page on the internet, and it explains. It says, at the Tombstone Interpretive Center, you can get the latest information on wildlife sightings and trail conditions. They also offer interpretive programs, guided walks, and art, cultural, and natural history special events, which continue all through the summer. They have a little table there with a pot of tea where you can sit down and relax and basically enjoy the beauty. They've got a lot of big windows and there's a lot to see. Now, one does not rush on the Dempster Highway. Not ever. Because like I said, the Dempster Highway is all gravel. It is a continual work in progress. Indeed, you'll see construction people from time to time digging things up, trying to take care of the washboarding. Now, as lovely and as barren and as wondrous as this landscape looks like right now, it's kind of hard to imagine it in the middle of winter, buried in snow and ice. And recently, there was a YouTuber who actually did dare and drive the Dempster Highway during the winter. That was Foresty Forest, and he's on YouTube. Check him out. It's a beautiful drive that he makes, and I take my hat off to him. He made it up to Tuktoyaktuk and all the way back. Good for you, Foresty Forest. While we're on the subject of other YouTubers, there was one other YouTube show called the Motorhome Experiment, which I really enjoyed. It took us all the way from the Dempster, the beginning of the Dempster Highway, all the way up through Inuvik, up to Tuktoyaktuk. They stayed there for a night and came back, and this really thrilled me, their experience, enough to basically motivate us to come up here. One of the things I learned from that video was it talked about this land being part of the Bonanza land. And I remember learning about this as far back as elementary school. The idea was is that there was some kind of a frozen pathway from Russia all the way over the Pacific to Canada. So if you could imagine all those people years and years ago with their families, with everything they owned, trudging back and forth among continents, that's really quite an amazing thought. It explains a lot. Now I'd like you to pay attention, if you can, to the road. Now, from time to time, you're going to see little orange flags pop up along the side of the road. These are very important as they are meant to signify a dangerous and precipitous patch of road ahead. And we found it to be quite accurate and very helpful. So always watch out for the orange flags, whether you're on the Dempster Highway or not. Danger ahead. There we go. We just passed by people having problems on the road. And we learned that if you're passing somebody by on the road and they're stopped, and even if you don't know why they're stopped, I consider it good form to basically put your head out the window. Are you okay? Do you need anything? Some water? And most of them will just wave you by. No, we're okay. As a matter of fact, all of them did. But it's always good to be sure, because you just never know when the person on the side of the road is going to be you. Now, going back over my notes in my journal, I did make some observations. They may not make much sense to you, but they bring back such wondrous images for me. In one part I wrote that the trees are spiny and spindly, and as you can look and see on the screen, yes, they are tall and they are spiny and spindly, and I wonder if that has anything to do with the conditions that are affecting their growth rate. Another comment that I wrote was that there was a lot of orange moss in the stream crevices, and this kind of brings it all back to me. And I did see a lot of orange, copper maybe, I don't know, but it certainly was surprising and very colorful, as were the mountain striations. And I saw such interesting and subtle colors that were not lost on me. So Frank did put a lot of thought into where we were going to stop for the night, and it was a hard call for him to make, because there were suggestions, but you always wonder, well, maybe if we just go a little further, what will we find there? We did pass by a lot of rest areas. Some were prettier than others. Some had magnificent views. Others basically just rock and shrub. Now, we did eventually stop at kilometre mile 221, which was alongside a lake, and it looked very lovely, quiet, and serene. In the end, I didn't get to enjoy it much because it was just full of mosquitoes. You could not walk outside with having half a dozen mosquitoes trying to get at your face. So I basically just looked at it from a distance. Frank was able to get down to the water's edge, and while he was down there, he did meet a worker or park ranger who gave him an explanation of the lay of the land. At one point, he pointed off into the distance over the lake and said, "Do you see the Elephant Rock?" And Frank couldn't see it, but if he looked hard enough, there did all of a sudden pop out at him a rock formation on the top of the mountain, which did indeed look like an elephant. Now, I went past my pictures and tried to review if we had that picture. I can't find it. If I do find it, I will put it up above this, and You won't be able to see much, but that will be rock, Elephant Rock. And if I don't find it, you're just going to have to drive down the Dempster to mile 221 and take a look and see it for yourself. It's worth the drive, really. So here we are at kilometer 221 on the Dempster Highway. We're going to call it a day, and I thank you for joining us. I hope you join us again. Until then, bye-bye.